Welcome, Nigel Credlin, Head of Investments at William Buck.
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Pleasure to have you here. How are you enjoying the symposium so far?
It's been really good. There's plenty I've learnt. I think I'm the only person taking notes, but I'm furiously taking notes and I can recall it all when I get home.
Well, you'll be tested on them before you leave. So
Nice one.
What would you say William Buck specialises in?
So William Buck's an accounting firm, first and foremost, specialised in the mid-market. Manufacturing is a big space. Health, well-being is also a big space in what we do. We're the wealth advisory arm that sits beside the accounting firm. We've got specialist tax, audit, corporate advisory. So there's a number of different strings to the bow, but it's effectively mid-market. And the benefit that we have is that our clients have been with the accounting firm for 5, 10, 15, sometimes 50 years. They build up their business. They need insurances. They need assistance with their wealth. They need assistance with their strategy, their structure. Then they need assistance with their investments. Before you know it, they've sold their business. They know us, they understand us. It really is a one-stop shop for that mid-market, which I don't think really exists out there at this point in time. People compare us to Pitcher Partners 20 years ago, sort of thing. So from that perspective, I think we're really well placed.
And from that standpoint that you just described and your role in the wealth advisory business, obviously defensive's extremely important to that kind of client. So how has your approach to defensive assets changed in recent years, if it has changed?
So I started my career back in 2004 at Macquarie. I left there and then was one of the founding partners at Evans and Partners, and that's where I learned a hell of a lot about investing. 3.5 years ago, I moved to William Buck to head up the wealth team, to fix it, get a little bit more income coming through, to stabilise the business. And as head of the investments, a lot's changed in that last 3.5 years. You had the ability to get some good yields out of fixed income. That doesn't exist anymore. You had the ability to have yield with protection. That doesn't exist anymore either. And you're able to set a portfolio that allowed you some flexibility in that space. So what we've done over the last number of years is stripped out a lot of the credit. We're super defensive in that asset class, especially where we are in the business cycle, where we are in the bull market that has finished. But that was a 13, 14-year bull market, especially in the US. So we look at the asset prices, we look at what's happening, and in that defensive space, we want to make sure that our clients' money is still there at the end of the day. We don't want frozen funds. I had to deal with that in 2009 through to about 2013. A lot of property funds froze. I don't want to have those conversations with clients. So we are super defensive.
What concerns you most about the defensive exposure that you're holding, not just your firm, but defensive exposures in general?
There's a couple of things that have come out of the symposium so far that do raise eyebrows. And raising eyebrows being that you've got property credit funds. They don't really care what happens unless you get a default or unless you get a pullback in the property market by 50%. That's a really big pullback before they get concerned. History says you don't need a 50% pullback before people get concerned. I think that there's a lot of products out there that people are invested in and they don't necessarily understand what they're investing in. A lot of people in my role understand property to a degree, understand shares really well, understand bonds pretty well, and then corporate credit to a degree, because we don't know what the underlying assets are. So not having full exposure of those underlying assets means that we're probably taking risks that we don't know what they are, and that's where our clients end up at the bottom end of the pile. So from that perspective, I think it's been too much expansion in that space. There's products that are being called credit or to be in the fixed income area, and they really should be in the alternative growth bucket. And if I'm sitting here with equity valuations where they were 12 months ago, or even where they were 6 months ago, and I'm trying to get a 7 to 8% return out of my equities, but I can go to a credit fund and pretty much guarantee 10 to 12%, there's a bit of a disconnect there that concerns me.
So are there opportunities in defensive and income assets, or is opportunities the wrong way to view those asset classes?
What's the way to explain this? So when I started Evans and Partners, Mike Hawkins, the legend Mike Hawkins, taught me a lesson. There's always a bull market. You just got to find out where that market is. So at the moment, you'd say there's lots of opportunities in government bonds. there's a bit of scope there, and if you look out through the economic cycle, you'd think there's some more volatility to come. So with the yields where they are, you should be able to get some protection. And if you've got 6 or 8% over 2 years out of that component of the portfolio, that's probably a good return, and that helps ballast what's been happening recently. Corporate credit's going to be really interesting, especially with proliferation of triple B. When that all starts to unwind and you get back to real triple B, not junk bond that's been pushed up, and you still got your double A minuses, I think there's a really good opportunity for really good managers to make a lot of money in that space with a decreased risk appetite.
Nigel Credlin, thanks for participating.
Cheers, pleasure.